I recently turned 18, and with me turning 18, I am very slowly entering adulthood. I don't classify myself as an adult. I'm not going around saying I'm an adult, I'm an adult, I'm an adult, and I can do whatever I want, because that's not the case. But one thing that I did learn very quickly is the importance of saying no and really getting rid of people pleasing. On this channel, I very rarely speak about my life and my experiences and the things that I deal with. However, I feel like it's very necessary to do so that people don't repeat the same mistakes as I did. I have always been struggling. I've always struggled with my weight. I've always been underweight, and in fact the last time that I weighed the amount that I should weigh was when I was 11 years old. Up to then, everything was good and I would always weigh the amount that I probably should have weighed. Like what's not should have, but the required amount basically. And ever since I gotten older, I have slowly, years on end, struggled with my weight, as in it's very hard for me to gain weight, and by that I mean gain healthy weight. I lose weight very quickly. I've got very fast metabolism. In that case, for example, when I'm like ill for a week, I can lose like 4 kilos. And why am I talking about this when this video is about people pleasing? I entered a friendship with someone that I used to have in my life, but then we stopped talking, and then we just kind of started talking again. An amazing girl. However, I am a people pleaser, and with people pleasing comes this disadvantage that you typically end up repeating old patterns and old mistakes even when you tell yourself to stop people pleasing. You repeat the cycle on and on and on, and that's something I found myself trapped in. I didn't know how to say no. My whole life would basically revolve around her. I would never take time for myself, never had that time. I basically lost myself completely, and I was no longer feeling like myself, but more as if my whole life revolved around her. Editing, and I really wanted to add this in really quickly, but when you have something like that, you tend to not care that you're disrespecting yourself, but you kind of know that you are. But that's when you've got to think, and you have to tell yourself, I don't care, but this is disrespecting me, and I cannot do that. I cannot do that. You've got to tell yourself that, because you won't want to do it, but you have to tell yourself to do it. And this is because I didn't know how to say no. With that came a problem, because let's say that she texted, let's go out. I would never say no, and I would leave my house without eating. I wouldn't eat a lot, and because I wouldn't eat a lot, I found myself losing weight, and that came with a lot of issues actually. And I'm pretty sure that females understand and know that, because I am someone that struggles with an actually pretty irregular cycle. I used to have it, then I was on medication which regulated it, and ever since I got back into this friendship, it stopped. Again, I didn't have my periods because I haven't been eating food. I haven't been eating what I should, and the truth is that, you know, if you're going out to the city every so often, you're not going to be eating good. You know, like McDonald's and pizza all the time, and that's strictly what my diet was based on. Like, that's not something that should be done. And I actually didn't have my period for 2 months. This is ever since I started really getting into that friendship. And as I've slowly started saying no, I've been actually got it. I've started trying to eat food, better food, and trying to eat 5 meals a day like I should, not 1 meal, or skip breakfast. That's not acceptable. You can't do that. But because of that, I realized, and I had a lesson taught. Thank you, God, because he taught me this in time. I'm grateful that I got this lesson as soon as I turned 18. It's that if you don't tell people no, and if you don't prioritize yourself, you are harming yourself so badly. Maybe not in the short term. In the short term, it's more mental, but in the long term, it's both physical and mental that you are hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself mentally and you're hurting yourself physically. And I realized that you have to learn to say no in life. You have to learn to say, no, I don't like that, for example. Like, let's say someone does something, like they make you a dress, for example. They make you a dress, and you're like, oh, I feel bad and I don't want to say that I don't like it, so I'll just get it. No, you have to say, I don't like it. Please fix this and this and this, and then it'll be the way I want it to be done. I really quickly realized the importance of putting yourself first and how that should be your priority and not someone else. Someone else can't be your priority. You have got to be your own priority, because once you are your own priority, you will then be able to help others. You cannot ever prioritize someone else, because then you are lost and you cannot help someone else. You cannot. So I actually started to think, right, I usually prioritize myself, and I feel guilty as someone that grew up people pleasing basically my whole life. I feel guilty when I don't do it, or when I say I don't like that and blah blah blah, please fix that, or when I say I just say no, I feel guilty for it. And for putting myself first, I feel guilty for it. But then I realized I lived what will happen to me if I don't. If this quickly in life, I, for example, stopped my period, I stopped eating well, I stopped basically eating. Victoria, there is something wrong, and the truth is, you know what's wrong. I started also neglecting my relationships, I started neglecting my relationship with God, I started neglecting myself, and I stopped feeling beautiful. And I just really wanted to make this very raw and open video for you guys to just show you on my example, so that you don't go that far as to not eating until you realize something. I hope this video will help you understand that you have to put yourself as a priority in life, and you have to stop people pleasing as soon as possible, because you can't use your parents as an excuse. Like, obviously, as a teenage girl, I was able to use my parents as an excuse. Like, my parents said no, my parents said this, my parents said that. But in your adult life, you can't be using that as an excuse, and you can't always say, I can't do this because I can't. Just say no, I can't, because I don't want to today, or I don't. It's going to be hard, but you're gonna have to make that first step. You have to make that first step, because in life, it's very different, and it's hard as someone that lives with a lot of people that are not very compassionate and understanding. That makes it that much harder for me to stop people pleasing. And with my relationships as well, with people, my friendships, I've got a lot of people that are in my life that are not very understanding people. So if I literally just say no because I don't feel like it, they will get mad at me. Or no, I don't, like, let's say that someone in my family asks if I can go shopping for them, but I'm doing something and that's important, or I haven't planned to do something that's very important and I'm about to start it now, but they just asked me to do something. I feel guilty for saying no, I don't have the time to do that right now. But the truth is, whenever I were to go to these people that I have my relationship with, they can just say no and I will understand. because I'm a very understanding person. However, I'm surrounded by a lot of people that are not understanding, which is that much harder for me to stop people pleasing. I've been doing it my whole life. I made a video about it, so if anybody got offended by the video, just know that I'm a people pleaser myself, and yeah, I'm a people pleaser myself. But the one thing that I failed to really put into account in that video was that the feeling bad. Like, you do feel bad when you do it, and it's not that you're egotistical, but you just do feel bad while you do it. You feel bad for these people, but you have to prioritize yourself, and then you can help others. Because, for example, let's say my family member asked me to go get something from the shop, but I have something very important to do. I go to the shop, I come back, and then I'm in a rush doing something that I was going to do. But like that, I finished doing what I was meant to do, and then I can go to the shop. You've got to understand that people can't rely on you that much. Like, they can rely on you, but by that I mean, like, they rely on you, they can rely on you, but not so heavy. Like, slow it down. They've got to understand that you might be doing something right now. You might be doing something that's very important, or important to you, and they won't understand. But you've got to say, no, I can't do it right now. And they either find someone else to do it, or that's not your problem anymore. That is not your problem anymore, and do not feel guilty about that. That is just not your problem anymore. You've got to focus on what you have to do. You've got to focus on you, and you've got to prioritize yourself. And that you shouldn't feel guilty for doing that. Because my whole life I've been feeling guilty for doing things like that, but you shouldn't. So I want you guys to know that you've got to stop people pleasing as soon as you can, because it will drain you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, but most importantly physically. It will drain you. You will literally be drained. I watched this video once about people pleasing as well, and it was these stories. I can't remember the channel name, but if I find it, I will comment it and pin the comments. This guy does really cool animations of just things that people go through, like, for example, people pleasing or this or that, and he, instead of telling you it and how it's bad, he makes a story, so you will actually learn it and understand what he's saying. And he made a video about people pleasing, and in the video about people pleasing, it was like this boy who had a friend, and he would say yes to everything the friend wanted until the boy started getting angry at the friend. The friend didn't know what the guy was getting angry about, but this guy was getting angry about how he feels like he's being used. This friend now gets angry that, like, now he doesn't really want to do anything, and the friend that was the people pleaser cut it quits on that person. He dropped the person, and the cycle kept repeating through every friendship. And that is the case if you're a people pleaser. You won't really find yourself in any stable friendship, because you will eventually start getting sick of it. You will get sick of people pleasing, and that's why that's the importance of stopping and quitting people pleasing as soon as you can, before you destroy some pretty valuable friendships. But that's why it's something that affects not just you, but it affects the other person too. I am a very understanding person. I can understand someone who can do the worst things in the world. I am extremely understanding, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because I need to learn where I draw the line and put a boundary. Like, you cannot do this just because of this. Just because this happened in your childhood does not mean that you can treat me like this. I made a video about this too, about how no one cares about your trauma. I have been through trauma. Every single human being has been through some type of trauma. And if I sat down and started telling you year by year what happened to me, your head would spin. And how I'm able to just record and speak and talk and be so positive. But you've got to know where you draw the line, because I have been through really bad things that I should never have been through, and things that were just so inhumane. But I don't let my trauma affect someone else. I have to heal it and deal with it. I've got to face it head on, deal with it and get rid of it, so that I don't repeat any bad behaviors. So whenever someone treats me badly, I always think, oh, it's because of this and this. But then I have to be like, hold on. Just because of this and this and this, that doesn't mean that I can now stay and excuse the behavior. The behavior is just unacceptable. You can't do that. You just cannot treat someone like that just because you've been through something. It's unacceptable. You can't do that. So that's why them type of people, if you have trauma and you find yourself putting that trauma onto other people, by that I mean, like, you know, you like just don't treat that person nicely just because you've been through trauma. Sit down and face it and get rid of it. Because what, do you expect your whole life for you to be dealing with that trauma? For you to always use it as an excuse to behave the way you behave? Absolutely not. Change your behavior and get rid of the trauma. It will always stay as a memory, but it can never stay as a trauma. You can, but by that I mean, like, you can make it affect you less. Like, I've been hurt because of someone with trauma and because of their childhood, and that is just unacceptable to me. You can't do that. You've got to face it head on. Your whole life you're going to be living with that trauma and excuse your behavior because of it? Absolutely not. Everyone has been through something. But do you see me being the rudest I possibly can? Oh, no. I've got to face it. And that's why I need to also learn where to place my boundaries for this respect. I can be as understanding as I can, and I understand that person, but I've got to think. My heart tells me forgive, and I forgive. But I think and I put a boundary in place. Cross it once, twice, 3 times, you're gone. You're just gone. I'm not going to deal with that in my life. If you find yourself in that cycle where you are slowly dipping into what I've been in, excuse yourself out of it really quickly and think, and rewatch this video as many times as you can. You've really got to get out of people pleasing, because people pleasing can literally kill you.